All right. I now call this October 24th, 2025 meeting into order. We will start with the land acknowledgement. We acknowledge that the Students' Union operates on the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe, Haudenosaunee, and Neutral peoples. This land is part of the Haldimand Tract, which was promised to the Six Nations, and we recognize the enduring presence of Indigenous peoples on this territory. In terms of regrets, I have received regrets from Director Hatab and Director Shirano, who will be writing his midterm. Absences, and Director Dilolo as well has given us her regret. As of this moment, Director Ward is absent. Okay. Are there any conflicts of interest to declare? Okay. And then we will proceed to the adoption of the agenda. Can I have a motion that the Board of Directors adopt the agenda as presented? Motioned by Director Murphy, seconded by Vice Chair Ferguson. Is there any discussion on the matter? Okay, then we'll proceed to voting. All those opposed, all those abstaining, and all those in favor? Motion passes 0-0 to 8. We'll now proceed to the audited financial statements from Chris Turner.
Hi, everyone. So the normal process for this is that our auditors, who are KPMG, they'll actually do the presentation of their draft audited financial statements. So online today, we have Janelle from KPMG, who is our audit lead this year. So I'll turn it over to Janelle to take us through the documents.
Hi, thanks for the introduction, Chris. I'm just not as familiar with Zoom. I'm just trying to find the screen share
Janelle,
option.
we can't hear you right now.
Oh, you can't hear me? Can you hear me now? No. Let's try this one. Can you hear me now? No? Still no?
Janelle, I can hear you. I think it's an issue with their
You can
audio.
hear me?
Yeah, because
Okay.
I think I did a call from the boardroom there earlier this week where I couldn't hear people. And so I think it's an issue that's persisting on their side. So I can hear you. But I think it's
Okay.
something that they have to figure out. Yeah.
Janelle, can you try talking again?
Hello? Can you hear me now?
Now we can hear you. Welcome.
Perfect. Okay, let me just make sure. Okay, this might be a bit more clear that I've changed that setting again. Perfect. Okay, can we still hear me? Yes? Yep, okay, perfect, great, thank you. Okay, yeah, sorry, just looking for, sorry, not as familiar with Teams, I'm just looking for the share screen button. I don't know if someone can point me in the, oh, there, I think I see the green one at the bottom now. Perfect, okay, I think this should show the right screen. Perfect, okay, can we see the draft financial statements now?
We can see
Yes,
it.
that's it. Okay, perfect. Okay, so as Chris mentioned, my name is Janelle Van Hy. I am the senior manager on the audit for the Wilfrid Laurier Students Union this year. Our engagement partner, Stacy Stallman, sends her regrets. And then just noting that our normal engagement partner is Matt Beddick, however, he's on sabbatical. So we had Stacy overseeing the audit this year. So first thing to note is our auditor's report, noting that we have a clean opinion this year, which is consistent with prior year. Two items that are different this year is that we have an emphasis of matter paragraph, as well as another matter paragraph, which relates to some changes in comparative figures, which we'll all get into in further detail when we get into our notes to the financial statements. So just doing a high-level overview of some significant balance changes over the prior year. Okay. Apologies, I've been having computer issues. Oh no. Oh, sorry. Okay, hopefully I'm back online. I've been having some computer issues after an upgrade this past week. So the first thing to note is our changes in cash. So this is a $1.3 million increase over the prior year. And this is mainly due to the GICs from the prior year maturing. So there's a larger cash balance as this was not reinvested. Another balance note is the due from the university balance that has increased about $800,000, and that's due to transfers related to WILFs and central accounts for a higher receivable balance at year end. Capital assets has increased by about 1.4 million, and this relates to renovations for Belmont and WILFs, some furniture purchases, as well as 2 vans purchased during the year. You'll also note that there are some changes between the current portion and long-term portion of debt, and that's due to 2 loans maturing in the upcoming 2026 fiscal year. Looking at our statement of operations. So if you look at this compared to the prior year financial statements, we have made some changes, noting that we have included the revenue and expenses by function in the current year. We have retained the schedule that were included in the prior year as well, which goes over the revenue and expenses by program. So looking at the revenues, we don't have any, and the expenses, we don't have any captions that are significantly changed from the prior year. However, both balances have increased slightly. And then jumping right into our note 11. And this goes over our restatement that we have of our comparative information. So it's noted that during our audit procedures in the current year, we identified a prior year misstatement in which the accounts payable and accrued liabilities caption and the salaries, wages, and benefits captions were both understated. And so management has decided to include that correction for the prior year, and therefore the prior year comparatives have been restated. And this goes over where all the balances have been adjusted for in the financial statements for these changes. Anything else? I don't think there's any significant changes in terms of the financial statement notes. Does anyone have any questions on the financial statements? And maybe I can make my screen a little bit bigger to see the room. There we go. Any questions? No? Okay, great.
I do have a
Sorry,
question.
Yes.
Yeah. Can you tell us more about the misstatement? How was it possible that we had a misstatement of 115,000?
Yeah. So 150,000. So noting that this is well below our materiality threshold still. However, noting through some of our procedures this year, we noted in the current year we had a debit balance where we would expect to see a credit balance in the payable, the liability account. And noting after reviewing the transactions, we noted this was also a consistent error with the prior year.
So just to add to that, the issue related to the salaries was the year in which they were recognized. So we didn't miss including them. We had some salaries at year end that we included in this current year that we felt were better represented in the year that we're auditing right now. So we moved those into 24-25 to get a better representation of that year. So that's where the part of the misstatement was.
So thanks for the clarification, Chris. Yeah, so it's a timing issue of when it was recognized, and not that expenses related to salaries and wages just weren't documented. It was noting that some of them were included in the fiscal year after when they should have been included in the 2024 fiscal year.
Thank you for that. Are there any other questions? No? Okay, please continue.
Okay, great. And then so I'm going to jump into our audit findings report. So note that the status as of today, this is a pretty standard outstanding list at this point in the audit. Working through our final completion procedures, we have a legal letter that we are waiting to be returned, which should be returned either today or Monday. Waiting for, from this meeting, we'll get the board of directors approval of the financial statements. And then as well, we'll obtain management's assessment of any subsequent event inquiries. And then as well as the final receipt of the signed management representation letter. So materiality is a figure that we use in our audit, and we use this to determine we use this for risk assessment procedures, as well as to help determine any misstatements that we identify. So for the current year audit, we've set materiality at $320,000. This is a $20,000 increase over the prior year, noting that we determined this based off of total revenues, noting that total revenues is slightly higher over the prior year as well. And we've kept the benchmark this relatively the same at 2.39% compared to 2.4% in the prior year. In setting our benchmark as well, we consider total expenses and total assets as other benchmarks to consider. However, we consider total revenues to be the most relevant. So as part of the audit, significant risk that we are not able to rebut is management override of controls, which is a standard audit risk. And for this, we perform journal entry procedures, as well as any retrospective review and inspection of any significant unusual transactions. Procedures for management override of controls are due to management having the unique position to have the opportunity to perpetrate fraud. That doesn't necessarily mean that we suspect it. However, we need to consider it as part of our audit procedures. Another presumed audit risk is for revenue recognition. And for this audit, we have rebutted that risk. And this is due to the entity not being a very high public profile organization and the revenue requiring very minimal judgment. Some other risks of material misstatement we consider are for cash and debt. And we perform procedures such as confirming the cash and debt balances with third parties, as well as inspecting debt agreements for any related covenants, with no issues with covenants in the current year. For deferred revenue and the balance due from the university, we perform analytical procedures over deferred revenue, and we obtain a confirmation from the university to confirm the receivable balances, as well as any revenue balances between the two parties. For accounts payable and accrued liabilities, we perform specific item testing over our accrued liabilities balance. We perform a search of unrecorded liabilities to ensure all the payables at year-end have been recorded in the correct period. We perform sampling over the accounts payable balance, and as noted, we identified a misstatement in this caption related to the payroll liability balance for the current year and for the prior year. So as part of our audit, we do have required inquiries with the board of directors. So nothing has been brought to our attention currently in terms of fraud or any cyber incidences. Does the board have any items that they wish to bring forth at this time? Oh, I think I might see Ryan with his hand up. No.
Sorry, I was just cracking my knuckles, my bad.
Okay, no worries. Anyone in the boardroom with any questions or items to note for fraud risks?
No questions at this time.
Perfect, thank you. For our accounting policies and practices, highlighting that there is one new accounting guideline standard for the current year. This relates to customers accounting for cloud computing arrangements, which we did not have any impact to the organization. This just re-highlights the restatement, noting that the prior year had the understatement for the accounts payable and accrued liabilities and the salaries and wages account. For the effective for fiscal year starting January 1st, 2025, there's some amendments to the related party transaction section of the handbook. And then for January 1st, 2026, there's this accounting guideline standard for accounting for life insurance contracts with cash surrender, which I don't believe would impact this entity. We have a number of specific topics that we are required to report to the board on, noting that we have no matters to report on these items. We have a number of corrected misstatements, mainly surrounding the payroll liability for the current year, as well as for the prior year. which are included in our management representation letter. We have one uncorrected misstatement for the current year, and this relates to a reclassification between revenue and expenses, so no impact to the statement of operations. And this is also included in our management representation letter. So relating to the prior year restatement, we have required to document this as a significant control deficiency, noting that there was just incorrect entries regarding payroll at year end that were not detected. For this, our documentation is just to have a bit more of a detailed review regarding the payroll entries at year end. The slides goes over a bit on how we deliver a quality audit, as well as including a link to our transparency report for further reading. We are required to report that we are independent of the organization and in compliance with any independence requirements. So no matters to report on this. The services that we are providing for the organization include the audit of the financial statements for the year ending April 30th. We also provide assistance with word processing and preparation of the financial statements, and we also prepare the tax return and not-for-profit return. So that comes to the end of my findings report. Knowing our appendices includes some additional items for further reading at your leisure. Does anyone have any questions on the audit findings report?
No questions?
Okay, that looks
All right, no questions on our end, Janelle. Thank you.
okay. Great.
I think that we have to approve this. Yeah. Okay. Can I have a motion that the Board of Directors approve the audited financial statements of presented to us today? Motion by Director O'Leary, seconded by Director Murphy. Is there any discussion on the matter? No? Okay. Let's proceed to voting. Any opposed? Any abstaining? All those in favor? Motion passes 0-0 to 8. Thank you. Thank you so much, Janelle.
Okay, great. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Janelle.
All
All
right.
right.
Yes. I'm
right.
gonna hop off something, and we'll be in touch with you for the management rep later, Chris.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Great. Thanks.
No worries. Let's proceed to the consent agenda. Can I have a motion that the Board of Directors approve the consent agenda? Motion by Director Zhao, seconded by Director Anas. Is there any discussion on the matter? No? Then let's proceed to voting. All those opposed, all those abstaining, and all of those in favor? Motion passes 0-0 to 8. Let's proceed to the minutes approval from October 10th, 2025. Can I have a motion that the Board of Directors approve the October 10th, 2025 meeting minutes? I'm going to go with Director Rutherford. Motion by Director Rutherford, seconded by Director Bilodeau. Is there any discussion on the matter? No? Okay, then I'll proceed to voting. Any opposed? All those abstaining? And all of those in favor? Motion passes 0-0 to 8. Thank you. We will now proceed to comments from the chair. Okay, I don't really have a lot of comments today. Thank you all for coming. I hope your reading week was good, and excited to learn more discuss more in our meeting today. So with that, I'll head it off to President Joby.
Thank you, Lulia. Hello, guys. I'm joining virtually today, but you guys all look fantastic from what I can see on my screen. You're all dressed to the nines. So nice to see you guys, and hope you guys all had a very restful and productive reading week. So as discussed at last board meeting, I am currently at Fall General Assembly here in Sudbury. We're at Laurentian's campus. So I am here with my Vice President of Government and Stakeholder Relations, Shayam Snevin Gosal, his two Associate Vice Presidents, Nicole Hecka and Isaac Halsey, and a couple other representatives from Laurier here as part of our membership with the Ontario Undergraduate Student Alliance. So we are here until this Sunday in breakout rooms and doing various different sessions to make amendments to and vote on various different policy papers that the Student Alliance uses to lobby to government officials. As a reminder, these are the 3 policy papers that we are making amendments on and voting on this General Assembly. First one is an Indigenous students paper. Second one is a mature students paper. And the third one is an accountability and system vision paper. So we have been working diligently to make contributions to those papers and hope that when it goes to plenary on Sunday, we're able to vote them through and they can exist as updated in our policy library. Some updates on some institutional VP hiring. So for the Vice President of Student Affairs, all of the first round and second round interviews for that position have been completed. Those candidates have also gone to Senate to present, and we are having a committee deliberation for that position next week. So next week, the hiring committee will meet together to come to a consensus on what our decision of that position and those candidates is. For the Vice President of Finance and Administration, the first round interviews for that position have been complete. Those were completed over reading week, and 3 candidates have been chosen to move forward into the second round. So there will be second round interviews. There will also be opportunities for representatives from our organization to meet with those candidates. So myself, Phil Champagne, and Chris Turner will be the ones on behalf of the Students' Union meeting with those candidates. Those meetings will happen during the weeks of November 10th to 14th and November 17th to 21st. And that's also when the second round interviews are scheduled for those candidates. In terms of work, I've decided to provide you with some updates on some personal projects that I've been working on and some cool, exciting stuff that's on the go and starting up. So I will be starting my own president office hours next week. That is a project that I've had initially planned and that will finally be launching next week now that I've gotten staffing permissions with the booking site and I'm able to create my own link. So that will be going up hopefully soon, and I'm very excited for that. So essentially just an opportunity for students to book in some time with me during my lunch hour to talk to me about any things that they're experiencing, any grievances that they may have with their experience on campus. More in line with student consultation, one of my personal projects was to build campus-specific advisory councils with student leaders on both the Brantford and Waterloo campus to get a better understanding of the on-the-ground experience that students have from various different perspectives. Those councils have finally confirmed membership from both the Waterloo and Brantford campus. I was just waiting on a couple campus partners to confirm which student leaders of theirs would be wanting to participate and have confirmed that they can participate. So the first meetings for those campus-specific advisory councils will be taking place in the next couple of weeks. And then myself and my team of vice presidents have started our student engagement boothing on both of the campuses. So our bi-weekly booths that we have on popular areas on campus, just to meet with students and talk to them about some of the stuff that they have going on. So hopefully in a board meeting, like a month and a half down the line, I can come back with some general feedback from students as part of the running feedback collection document that I mentioned in a board meeting a couple of weeks ago. So yeah, that's just a couple of the personal projects that I wanted to get going that are gaining some leverage, which I'm pretty excited about. But yeah, open to any questions about any of the stuff that I discussed.
Are there any questions for President Joby at this time? No. Okay. Congratulations on the office hours. Good job. We would love to hear more about your student engagement feedback at some point. And good luck at USA. Okay. All right then. Proceeding to comments from Phil. Thank you, President Joby.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for your patience with me as I arrived a little bit late. I was in a conversation with a staff member that was a little too important to kind of cut too short. So thank you for that. Quick updates. Been going over a lot of Brantford Student Life Levy project proposals this past week. Hopefully it looks as though there's going to be lots of really vibrant projects. Unfortunately, though, a lot of them seem to be kind of staff and faculty led. So we're hoping to kind of sit down and kind of prepare a better marketing scheme to target student led projects for the next round in the winter term. And potentially review the future of that program if we don't get a lot of student engagement, because it is for student benefit, not faculty and staff benefit. So we'll see how that goes. But some of the projects look really great. So looking forward to that process next month. Working closely with Chris Turner and Tara Robinson and ultimately Ryan Joby when he's back to prepare for the Food Services Management Group presentation to the Waterloo Leadership Council, where we basically go and talk to some of the residence leaders, first-year residence leaders, about food service on campus and get feedback and mechanisms and all that kind of stuff. So we're looking forward to that. That takes place on the 5th of November, usually in Bricker 24 Lounge. Whether it's going to be there or not, I can't speak to. Ryan and I will be attending make sure I get this right, Comprehensive Student Services Agreement Council meeting all day this coming Tuesday to kind of go over some financial projects for the fiscal year of 26-27 for the budget year. So hopefully some exciting things coming out of student affairs and the VP Academics Office and all student facing areas to help improve the lives of students. Full disclosure, I wasn't paying full attention to Ryan, so I assume he updated on the VP Finance and the VPSA searches. So I will skip that. Quick updates with Sam Anhorn, our guest services manager, has officially gone on maternity leave as of this past Saturday. We wish her all the best on her weeks of vacation before her maternity actually kicks in. And we will see her back working for us again in January of 27. Elise Borman, who's our HR generalist, she will be going on maternity leave I want to say November 21st is her last day in the office. And then myself and Kelly Lee, the Director of Member Services, who oversees the HR generalist, will be putting together a plan to kind of fill in that maternity coverage so that we don't lose any HR support during her absence. On the flip side of that equation, Megan LaCourciere, our Director of Marketing Communications, will be coming off of maternity leave. Hopefully in late November, early December. We have put forward a proposal that would bring her back, I believe, on December 8th, but we haven't come to a full agreement on that yet. So as that information kind of gets developed and tightened up a little bit, we will update the board on that, but we're looking forward to Megan coming back and having our marketing team at full force once more. And the only other thing here is obviously the men's football team is in the playoffs. They got a bye this week and the first home game next Saturday versus to be determined. We look forward to that and hopefully that's a successful one. And then we end up hosting the Yates Cup again like we did last year on Saturday, November the 8th. So we're looking forward to hopefully another successful playoff run for the men's football team. And that's about it.
Thank you, Phil. Are there any questions for Phil? No questions. Okay. All right. Thank you, Phil. Let's talk about the election policy draft.
Yes, so each year ahead of the elections, the board reviews the election policy and the election dates for approval. So what you have before you today is the 2026 election policy. It's more or less the same as last year. There's been a few kind of administrative updates, language changes, but there are no substantive changes from the document that you all would have referenced last year. Happy to take any questions you have. Otherwise, it's just a fairly routine approval ahead of the next cycle.
Any questions for Ian at this time? Okay, perfect. Do you require a decision? Okay, and we have to approve it, right? Okay, can I get a motion that the Board of Directors approve the election policy draft for 2025 to 2026? Motion by Director Murphy, seconded by Director Zhao. Can I get a discussion on the matter? No? Okay, then let's proceed to voting. All those opposed? All those abstaining? And all of those in favor? Motion passes 0-0 to 8. Thank you. And Ian again with election dates.
Yes, so similarly, the brief contains the election dates. The brief says 2025 elections date. That should say 2026 election dates in the briefing note. Working backwards, results night would be Thursday, January 29th. Again, this timeline mirrors last year's, just adjusted for the date. So we have nomination packages due on January 11th. So that's after a full week of class back on campus. We like to give students the ability to kind of have one last chance to consider the opportunity. all candidates meeting January 12th. And then we have a pre-elections marketing approval period from January 14th to 18th. Campaigning would occur from January 19th to 27th. And then your 3 voting days would be January 27th, 28th, and 29th. So as I mentioned, no substantive changes on the dates either, just updated for the 2026 year.
Thank you, Ian. Are there any comments on the matter? Any discussion? No? Okay. And then let's proceed to voting. Can I have a motion that the Board of Directors approve the election dates for 2025 to for the 2026 election? Motioned by Director O'Leary, seconded by Vice Chair Ferguson. Is there any discussion on the matter? No? Okay, and let's proceed to voting. All of those opposed? All of those abstaining? And all of those in favor? Motion passes 0-0 to 8. Thank you. And so can we have the Finance Committee brief from Vice Chair Ferguson?
All right. So thanks, Lulia. So what you have before you is the report from our first meeting and also the midterm policy review. We met on the 4th. The committee consists of 4 people, myself, Lulia, Robert, and Sawab. Both me and Robert are going to take on as co-chairs for the committee. During the meeting, we were reviewing 3 policies, EL2D, EL2E, and EL2F. And we have a couple of items for discussion, but we found that we're in compliance with all 3 of those. The items for discussion, so I'll go through them one by one. So after reviewing EL2D, we proposed the change. So as it reads right now, section 7, and this is led with I believe it's led with the president will not. So instead of acquire, encumber, or dispose of real estate, we found that it should be changed to acquire, encumber, or dispose of real estate without unanimous board approval. This just adds a second screening. I know it's probably going to be already known that it's to be with board approval if such an action is to occur, but we've kind of wanted to make it more transparent. Yeah. Any discussion on that? I'll open it to the floor. Go ahead.
Can I offer a potential change? Unanimous makes me a little bit nervous because it's really hard to get 12 folks to kind of agree on anything. Especially when it deals with like a pretty significant asset as real estate, etc. And I'm wondering, I'm assuming you want a tighter control so that there's not just a simple, what do we got, 7 votes or whatever. I'm not even sure my math is going to be right here because my proposal is going to be, that's quorum, not necessarily a majority vote. Because if there's 12 votes, a majority is 7. So my question is, what about 2/3, which would require 9?
So that is something that we thought about. I had it in the brief. I ended up taking it out, but I would be open to that. It requires a little bit more than just like a pass for me, definitely. So that was one of the changes. So it could read as with 2/3 of board approval, or it could just be 2/3 with all directors present. Just because it is a very significant matter, and I'd want to make sure that all of the directors are getting a say. What do we think?
Yeah, I think that's why we put unanimous in there, so that at least we have all directors present, and it is a decision that even if it would be majority approval based, it'd still be one that every director has discussed or has had the option to put their their decisions in as well. That's how we considered it. But again, I don't speak for the finance committee, obviously, but we would be okay with like a majority or a 2/3 vote with all directors present as well.
Everybody okay with 2/3? Do you have any rebuttals, anything like that? 2/3 with all directors present, 2/3. What do you think?
I'm not trying to push back on that. The number 9 doesn't scare me. I also know how hard it is to get 12 people in a room.
Mhm.
Should there be some sort of consideration for like an e-vote where all 12 votes need to be counted?
Mhm.
Something along those lines?
Yeah, I agreed. Trying to get 12 bodies in a room
Yeah.
is tough. Okay. So how about we do inquire, encumber, or dispose of real estate without, yeah, go ahead.
You could do a 2/3 majority vote of all directors. That doesn't necessarily mean all directors need to be present. You would still have quorum in meeting, but the number would require 2/3 of the directors. Even if you didn't have 12 at a meeting, you would still have to get the 2/3 majority of 12 in order for it to pass.
And that would be in writing, right? So like an e-vote there'd be a paper trail for
No,
that?
I'm saying regardless of how many people are in attendance.
Yeah.
If the meeting had quorum, the vote would need 2/3 majority of all directors, even if all directors are not
Yeah.
present. That way, if someone's absent, it doesn't preclude you from moving ahead to obtain 2/3 majority.
Right.
Because 2/3 majority would be different if you're doing 2/3 majority of those in attendance at a meeting because the meeting had quorum. But if you were doing 2/3 majority of all of the board's composition, then that would still be the higher threshold number. Than if you,
I-
but if you had 8 people in attendance, 2/3 would be 2/3 of 8.
Yeah, but we're talking to. So like, I think we're saying.
Yeah, I'm just saying that you wouldn't need to have everybody present
Right.
in order for you to do the 2/3 of the 12.
As long as we do, we still get like 2/3. So regardless of whether they're present or not, as long as we have 2/3 of a yes from all the directors is what you guys are saying. And we can, okay.
So have 2/3 of all directors, meaning regardless,
Always not.
So we.
always 12.
Vote.
Eight.
Eight.
Or sorry, yeah, always 9.
The other question
8.
is, what if we, I'm guessing Milton is still a bit far away from being included, but
Yep.
if we do have a Milton director, that would be 2/3 of 13 directors?
So they would, if we ended up with a Milton director, which we can do now as of the change of last referendum, that's one of 12.
Still 1 of 12?
The 12 doesn't change.
Never changes.
No.
Okay. Can we work on that for this election? And having a Milton director?
Well, yeah.
You can definitely encourage students, Milton students are eligible to become directors. We just don't have a minimum threshold on the board for Milton directors because we don't have a large enough population of Milton directors for that to be practicable. But the change we made last year would enable that once we get that number, then you would do something similar to what we have with Brantford, but
Mhm.
we'd need to wait until
Yeah.
the calculation makes sense.
Thank you. Okay. That was just a curiosity. Go.
And then with that, so 2/3 of all directors I'm wondering if that's going to, like, let's say we had the same issue that we had this year and we had 2 spots over the summer not being filled or whatever. If we ever have spots that aren't being filled, that number then would go down. Because, for example, if we had 11 directors, then that would go down to what, 7. So
So if the board made a decision to go forward with not a full complement of 12, which this board did after the last election, yeah, that number would go down.
So then should we keep it at all directors or should we just say out of 12?
Just say, yeah, 2/3 of all directors at that time.
Yeah, 2/3. Okay, so then we'll change it to acquire, encumber, or dispose of real estate without 2/3 majority vote of all directors. Cool.
There we go.
Any other discussion on that? Okay, we'll motion that after the meeting. Or well, after the other change. So that's going to be the first change. Or 1. No worries. I knew that was going to be a hot topic. Now, the next one, so section 11 currently reads, section 11, we're adding two subcomponents to it just to make it extremely transparent on the president's responsibilities. It currently does not have any. So right now it says the president will not present a budget to the board for the upcoming fiscal year later than April 30th of the current fiscal year. We want to just make sure that we're also getting a little bit more leeway in terms of not only getting a proposed budget, but getting an approved budget by April 30th at the latest. So we're making it extremely clear. Sub point A is proposed to be fail to, and again, this is the president will not fail to present a proposed budget for discussion no later. Whoa. Yeah, that makes sense. No later than the first board meeting of April. And then sub point B would be fail to submit the latest revised budget for approval no later than the second meeting of April. Any discussion on that?
May I ask why?
It's just to make sure that we're extremely transparent with the president's responsibilities. So this, I'm pretty positive it hasn't been an issue in the past, but it's just one of those things that we just want to make sure that we're limiting the risk, because right now, as it reads, they could propose, they could present a budget on April 30th, and then we would have just that one day pretty much to approve it until the next board takes over. So we just want to make sure that it's very clear in terms of us being timely, getting a budget on time, having room to discuss and change, and then approve it on time ahead of schedule.
It also allows for the board to have like multiple rounds of discussion with the budget. So it's not just like here you go, but it's like multiple rounds of transparency and discussion, and that's, I think, and also gives you guys time to allow for any revisions at the time of our discussion. Is there any discussion on the matter? No?
Cool.
Such an agreeable bunch today, guys.
Okay. So we'll do two motions. I'll propose the first one first. Can I get a motion that the board of directors approve the change of section 7 of EL2D to acquire, encumber, this is the president will not acquire, encumber, or dispose of real estate without 2/3 of the majority vote of all directors?
Do you have the power to call for a motion?
I should have the power to call for a motion, shouldn't I? Anyone can call for a motion.
Do you?
Is that right? Yeah.
Motion by Chair Haptemeyer.
Yeah. Motion by Chair Howard Michael, seconded by Director Anas. Any discussion? All those opposed? All those abstaining? And all those in favor? Motion passes 0 to 8 or 9. Is there 8? Yeah, there's 8. Cool. All right. Awesome. And then the second change, can I get a motion that the board of directors approve the addition of 2 different subsections under subsection 11 of EL2D that will read: A, fail to submit a proposed budget for discussion no later than the first board meeting of April, and B, fail to submit the latest revised budget for approval no later than the second meeting of April. Motion by Director Murphy, seconded by Director Zhao. Any discussion? All those opposed? Abstentions? And in favor? Motion passes 0 to 8. Awesome. Thank you. That's all I got.
Thank you, Vice Chair Ferguson. All right. Can we proceed to an in-camera session? Can I have a motion that the board of directors proceed to the in-camera session Motion by Director Murphy, seconded by Director Anas. Is there any discussion on the matter? No? Okay, then let's proceed to voting. Thank you, Chris. All those opposed, all those abstaining, and all those in favor?